Hi, Happy New Year. I think it's January 6th right now, and this is going to be a quick video talking a little bit about self imposed restrictions like timelines and things like that. So if you're interested, stick around. Talk to you soon. Welcome back. Thanks for sticking around. I hope, before I even start, Happy New Year. I hope it's been wonderful for you so far. I think a lot of people, especially given the year that we've had, and I can't sit there and say it was a bad year. I had a lot of wonderful things that happened in 2023, but I think a lot of us are just tired. And quite truthfully, buckle up. It's 2024. What is it, election year? God help us. But we'll get through because we got through the last 4 years, right? Trust me, everybody is far more resilient than you give yourselves credit for. Okay. Some people do, but a lot of people that I talk to, they're like, oh my God, I can't deal with another year like that and this, that. And I'm like, yes, you can. Because if you really think back to everything that you've been through in your life, you'd be amazed at what you've overcome. We just tend to minimize that a little bit when it's us that goes through it versus if someone external to us that we care about went through it. Then it's like, oh my God, how did you do that? But in any case, I digress. This video, like most of my videos, has been an ongoing theme given that it's the new year, okay? And the theme is for people who like set deadlines. If you have a goal that you're trying to accomplish and you set a deadline or a time frame with expectations, okay? Now, in the past, I have said this and I say it all the time. The fastest route to disappointment is expectation. Okay. So it's hard. Everything in life is about balance. It's hard not to have some level of expectation because you want to have a clear and concise goal that you're going for, right? So with that comes some level of expectation. Like if my goal is I want to, I don't know, go to Europe once this next year or something like that, right? Well, what if I end up going to Hawaii and not Europe, right? Or I know that's kind of a crappy example, but you get my point. It's like sometimes life happens and we get a little derailed or rerouted, if you will. Okay. That happens all the time. That's life. The more flexible we are, the easier it is for us to adjust those sails, if you will, and still come out on top. Okay. But when we're really fixed on a particular way, this has to be exactly like this. The more fixed we are on those specific expectations, the harder it is going to be for us when it doesn't quite work out to scale, if you will. Okay. Well, let me tell you, if I ended up in Hawaii, that'd be fine too. Although I've been there once, I don't care if I ever go back, but it's a beautiful place and I would never complain. However, that being said, again, flexibility is really huge. And that's going to come into play when I'm talking about deadlines and self-imposed restrictions. Okay. So the theme that kept coming up, especially around the end of the year, is a lot of people had set different expectations for themselves around different goals that they were working on, whether that be work, relationship, losing weight, you name it. There's all kinds of things that we give ourselves a time frame for, and if we don't reach some kind of expectation by then, it's like, do we throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? Is it all or nothing? Cut off your nose to spite your face, or whatever the case may be. And if it's a long-term goal, or if it's just any kind of goal, really, we don't want to self-sabotage by doing that all or nothing thinking. So most of us grow up with that whole phrase that says practice makes perfect, right? No, perfect is a construct. It's not. It's a measurement tool. It's not actually attainable. Perfection is more of an in the moment, like what's perfect for me right now may be rubbish for me in 5 minutes. Okay. So think about it this way. If I'm really cold right now and I crank the heat or I put a heating pad on or got my big fluffy scarf, And then in 5-10 minutes, I'm freezing. I mean, not freezing, the opposite. I'm hot. Well, then I might have to take some of that stuff off, right? So maybe that fluffy scarf was perfect for me when I was cold, but once I get hot, I'm probably going to take it off, right? So the thing is, it's not all or nothing. It's in the moment. And that's why being mindful and in the moment is so beneficial for us, okay? Because we can only make choices based on where we're at in the moment. All right. So one example would be someone was giving themselves till the end of the year with their job. Okay. If by the end of the year, or by the end of December, if my job doesn't meet this expectation, if these particular changes that I addressed, okay, that's another key, is you have to address these things. You have to actually implement change. If you don't implement change, you cannot expect change to happen. You see this a lot in relationship. Oh, well, I want, if my wife or my husband or my boyfriend or my girlfriend or my whomever, my cousin, my sister, if they're not changing how they deal with me by the end of the year, then I'm going to eradicate them from my life, right? Well, that's harsh, okay? However, you can't really set that expectation unless you had that difficult conversation that said, this is what my expectations are. And there's a lot more that goes into that, because honestly, ultimatums are never a good thing. They're really not. It should always be a give and take when it comes to any kind of relationship, whether with a significant other or a family member, or a friend, an acquaintance, whatever the case may be. Nobody likes to have their feet held to the fire, okay? So it's more, for me, that would be more of a conversation. It says, these are the things that I need or would like. You're either capable of that or you're not, or you're willing or you're not. I get that, but you also need to make sure that your needs are being met. Because if they're not, you got to tell me, right? And then we got to find some happy ground. And if we can't, then it's clear that there's a misalignment, okay? And that also depends on how vested you are in the relationship. But again, that's another side note. So back to like the job, okay? The timeline. By the end of the year, if it's not what I'm hoping for or expecting, right? Then I'm going to start looking for another job, okay? So all of a sudden, here they came to the end of the year, and they did address, okay, so they did address their expectations, their needs, or whatever it is that they were looking for. So that was step one. And then they started trying to implement the changes that they needed to do. And what they noticed is, as they got closer to the end of the year, progress was being made. Okay, there was some level of reciprocity. The progress was being made, but it wasn't quite at that expectation point for them. Okay, so it's like, I really wanted to see these gains before the end of the year. Not I'm seeing gains, and that was the concern. It's like, okay, now I got myself all tied up in a knot because I'm seeing progress, but now I'm deathly afraid, because I gave myself that timeline, that if I make the wrong choice, am I shooting myself in the foot, right? Because again, sometimes we scare ourselves in the idea that there's a all or nothing right answer or an all or nothing wrong answer. And if we pick the wrong choice, we've screwed ourselves. Okay. I'm going to say, outside of certain things, like when we close our eyes forever type thing, we can pretty much, and not everything, so don't quote me on that, because I'm not in the moment thinking of everything that could go wrong, okay? But for the most part, every choice that we make in life, we can redo to some level. Maybe not with, it's harder when it's with relationship to other people, because we can't force people to do what we want. And when we have, historically, look at the world, there's usually some kind of revolution, okay? Because people don't like being told what to do. We like to make our own choices for our own best and highest good, okay? for the most part. You're always going to have your outliers, but you get my point. So when you're dealing with a relationship with regards to those self-imposed restrictions, that's a little harder, because just because we realize we made a mistake and we apologize doesn't mean that person has to accept it. Or they might accept it, but they may not ever want to have that type of relationship with us again. We can't change that, okay? But with regards to a job, with regards to, like, I went through this with a lot of my college students when they started this year. It was, okay, maybe when you're going to meet with these different colleges, you talk to them about a plan B. Like, what if I decide to go to this college or another college, but then halfway through the year, I realize I made a mistake. I'm not liking this place. Maybe I'll give it to the end of the year, but what are my options after that? Do I have to reapply? Am I allowed to reapply? Because the more facts you have, the easier it is to go into those things, right? That's only part of it. But the fact of the matter is even if you do that at the other end, okay, like say you go to pick a college and you realize, it's not the one I wanted, or it's not what it was made out to be, or it just doesn't resonate with me, right? At that point, you can then start making the calls and say, you accepted me in the fall and I ended up going elsewhere, or I didn't do it. What are my options? Do I have to reapply? Can I reapply? Do I have to wait a period of time? I don't know. I never had to really deal with that, but there's always answers if you're willing to ask the questions, okay? Instead of just feeling stuck. But back to the job thing. Noticed progress, but it wasn't quite at that expectation level that they were hoping for. So then they were afraid of, if I don't look for a job now, I'm going to be stuck here for another year. And I'm like, says who? Right? You're not chained to it. So at the end of the day, my solution is reframing the way you think about it. It's the whole, instead of having such a fixed point and fixed expectation of what needs to happen at this fixed time, use it more as a guideline, okay? A flexible guideline saying, I'm looking for such and such at the end of the day, okay? However, if I can start making gains to that, I want to see some kind of change by the end of the year, right? If I could get all of the change by the end of the year, so be it, okay? Life doesn't usually work that way, but sometimes it does. Yeah, we call that what, lucky? I don't know that that's true, but that's what we call it. Because I don't know. I believe choices set us up for luck. They do. But sometimes we're not taking accountability for the choices that set us up for that luck, because we didn't realize that we were even doing it. We were just living our best lives and maybe making all the right choices. And now all of a sudden something happens and like, whoa, this is fortuitous, right? I'm lucky. No, I think you're just doing good by yourself, towards yourself, or whatever the case may be. But again, that's my opinion for what it's worth. Everyone believes whatever they want. And I'm okay with that. In any case, guidelines, right? So maybe it's just reframing that instead of really fixating or getting yourself stuck on a particular way of looking at it. It's being willing to kind of switch your perspective a little bit and saying, okay, I really want this by the end of the year. However, I'm a fallible human being along with every other fallible human being in this world. And I can only do what I can do in the hopes that other people are going to reciprocate. Let me say, by the end of the year, let me just tap in and see where we're at, right? And if by the end of the year I'm seeing progress, well, then I'm just going to be a little bit more mindful, okay? And I'm going to keep an eye on it and trust myself in the moment, okay, to make the choices that are in my best and highest good, and hopefully in the best and highest good of others as well. And what I mean by that is it's not our job to set other people up for anything, right? However, we are connected in our own way, and we want to do good by people, not enable. Okay. So sometimes the way we can be with people will enable situations that aren't necessarily in people's best and highest good. So at the end of the day, we have to be accountable for ourselves. And the best we can do for others is to be a decent human being and not use them, not throw them under the bus, not be an opportunist in that sense. I mean, yes, be aware of opportunity, but not at the expense of other people. So that's what I mean by that. Okay. At the end of the day, only people can really do for themselves. Because until someone's ready for something, even $1 million. I remember I hired this girl one time, and she didn't really need the job because her boyfriend had just won $1 million, literally. But within a year, it was all gone. Because he wasn't in a place where he was really ready to be responsible with that kind of money. So you have some people in the world get $1 million, and then they're going to have 10 million at the end of the year. I don't know if that's a factual amount, but you get my point. You have other people has $1 million, goes out, buys 5 cars, and now they have nothing. Nothing to show for the fact that they had all that opportunity. So my point is everybody's where they need to be to learn the lessons that they need to learn to help their own growth in life. Okay? It's not for me to judge the choices that someone else makes and vice versa. But if I'm sitting there getting stuck over my own choices, my own expectations, my own deadlines, then if I want to change that, nobody else is going to change that for me. I'm the one who has to step up and say, okay, well, how do I change that? Well, maybe I need to be a little more flexible with my perspective. Maybe I need to be a little more flexible with how I look at this and set these parameters. Okay? At the end of the day, I'm the one who's determining whether I have to the end of the year or not. And in this case, it was this person, but you get my point. Hopefully. it's that whole okay, well, because what if they didn't see any progress? They were more stressed over I see progress, but it's not what I want it to be. And then it was if they didn't see progress, they might have been scared to make that change anyway, but maybe more willing. Other people might come up with an excuse not to make a change that's for their best and highest good, assuming it is for their best and highest good. There's all kinds of ways we can look at this. The key, though, is to know through mindfulness, it's really gaining that insight into yourself. Okay, is this initially when I'm setting this goal for my best and highest good? Is it going to hurt anyone in the process outside of control? Right? I don't know, how do I word that? Because sometimes choices we make do hurt other people. That doesn't necessarily mean they're the wrong choice. But only we can answer is this being done in a selfish way, or is it being done in a healthy way? Okay. It's kind of like I had a little kid one time say to me, I feel like I have to like this person because they like me, and if I don't like them, they threatened something adverse, right? And my thing is that's where we might get other people involved, okay, so that you're not sitting there with that burden, but at no time should you feel like you have to reciprocate feelings that you don't have. So sometimes with regards to those types of scenarios, the choices we make may hurt somebody. But at the end of the day, if we can honestly look in the mirror and say this is for the best and highest good for myself and possibly for this person, because maybe in that case, that person would find someone else that's better for them, right? So I just wanted to throw that little caveat in, because unfortunately, sometimes what is in the best and highest good doesn't always feel good, okay? Sometimes you can say that about change. Like maybe you get so comfortable in a job that you don't really want to leave, but you also recognize that it's not serving you and your ultimate goals or long-term goals, okay? But with regards to the timelines and everything else, use it as a flexible guideline, an excuse to be mindful and really present with yourself as to your motivations. Is this working for me? Are my expectations reasonable with regards to the timelines? And it's okay to move the goalposts a little bit, as long as, again, as long as it's in the flow and it makes sense. Because sometimes we gain more information over a period of time that makes us rethink some of the goals that we set. And that's okay too. It's okay to change your mind, okay, with regards to just about anything, especially if it's a big life choice, okay? So I hope that helps. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment or send me an email. I think the email's on my page. I'll double check. But I'm always open for discussion, honestly. I don't pretend to know everything. I really don't. And if me coming on here and talking about my opinions gives that impression, I apologize, because I'm not trying to talk from a soapbox. I'm just talking about things that I've experienced or topics that have come up in conversations that I've had, and answers that maybe have come up too that either myself or other people have found helpful. So again, as human beings, we are not cookie cutter. Just because I'm out here talking about something that works for a lot of people doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be your end all answer. Okay, it may not work for you. It's kind of like I don't know. I talk a lot about well, I don't know if I talk about it, but I do meditation, a lot of meditation. I talk about different ways to self-soothe and stuff like that. But my go-to ways may not be the same as someone else's go-to ways. You gotta meet yourself where you're at and give yourself grace, okay? But also understand that I'm just sharing information that has either been helpful to me or that I've noticed has been helpful to other people. And whoever resonates with it, hopefully it's helpful to you too, okay? If it doesn't, then leave it for someone else, okay? Either way, I am sending you all the best wishes for 2024 and all the, I don't know, opportunities hopefully it brings for you. I'm excited about this year with realistic expectations, because I know that there are still things that are going to happen in the world. You know, that just seems to be the state of being right now. And again, we're coming into an election year. So, yahoo. But there's pluses and minuses to everything. Okay. And we never have all the answers. Okay. So remember that when things don't necessarily go with your expectations. Okay. Be careful with expectations. The fastest avenue or route to disappointment is through expectations. Okay. Make sure they're realistic and make sure you're flexible with them as you gain more knowledge. But I'm going to leave you for now. I'm sorry it's been so long since I made a video, but it has been the holidays and it's been a lot going on. But again, I'm super stoked about the new year. And I hope you are too. So I'll talk to you soon. All right. Bye.